Hello, and welcome to the channel. If you haven't been here before, basically I watch a movie and I come sit down and I yak about it. No prep time, no script, no jump cuts, just raw, unfiltered me yammering on and probably making an idiot out of myself. Yeah, if that sounds fun, enjoy. If it doesn't, feel free to, take off. Anyway, today we're looking at Midsommar, which is a film I have been meaning to watch for the longest time and finally got around to it. Yeah, I don't know why I put it off for so long. It's available on everything that I have streaming wise, so I don't know. Anyway, I finally watched it and I'm going to tell you what I think. But first of all, the drill, spoiler alert. I'm going to be talking about the film itself, the things that happen in the film, the ending, etc. So if you don't want that spoiled, jump ahead on the timeline to the part that says thoughts or rating or whatever it is. Sometimes I'm an idiot and I say a spoiler in the rating, but I always give you a warning. So if the thoughts or rating says spoiler in it, you can skip that too. Hopefully I'm not a dumbass this time, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, let's get into it. So, we have a young woman by the name of Danny, played by Florence Pugh, who is having some issues at home. She's been trying to get a hold of her sister, who has had mental health issues and whatnot, and she's not responding. And apparently the message that she received is a lot more concerning than any of the other things that have happened. Anyway, she's panicking. She calls her parents. Her parents don't answer. It's the middle of the night, to be fair. So right away she picks up her phone and calls her boyfriend, Christian. Christian picks up. He's out with the boys, but he talks her down a little bit, calms her down, and says, listen, she's done this stuff before, you know what I mean? Your sister, is this any different than the others? And Danny's kind of yeah, it really is. And he says, is it though? Basically convinces her that it's not really that big of an issue. And she's like, okay, you know what? You're probably right, to be completely fair. We have had scares in the past. And all that. And yeah, we'll move on from there. Anyway, the call ends, and then it shows our good friend Christian sitting in the bar with his buddies talking about going to Sweden. They want to go for, so we'll do the characters here. So we got Mark, who is wanting to do a thesis specifically on this village that Pele, which is another one of them, grew up in. It's his hometown. He wants to go out there and I guess bring his friends along. Super cool. And then we have Josh, who is basically just wanting to hook up with Swedish women. So that's fun. That's our cast of characters. Excuse me. And then Christian, of course, who is the boyfriend, who is revealed to be having second thoughts about his relationship with Danny. All his friends are basically encouraging him to dump her, essentially. And he's like, yeah, but what if I want her back? And they're like, you don't. We went over this. So anyway, that's kind of an asshole thing. Anyway, his phone rings again. They're like, oh my god, she's smothering you. Is that her again? And he answers. And she's just unconsolably crying and shit. And we cut to, I guess I'll give a trigger warning. Her sister has closed off the garage, got the two cars running, ran a hose up to the parents' room, and duct taped a hose to her own face. So she decided to end her own life, and in addition to that, end the life of her parents. So Danny just pretty much lost everything right there. Christian goes over and basically just holds her as she cries. Now, clearly, he can't break up with her right now. That would be the harshest shit in the world. So obviously he stays with her. Anyway, they're out at the bar. I don't know how far in advance this is, but I guess she's good enough to go out and stuff. She's lying in bed and she says, yeah, I'm just gonna go to the party for 45 minutes. So you know what? I'm gonna come too. I'm good. I'm not sleeping anyway. So she goes, and it's revealed to her the whole Sweden trip. And she's like, oh, okay. later at home after the party, she's like, yeah, that's kind of weird that you didn't, tell me that or anything. He's like, oh, well, I literally just made up my mind now. She's like, okay, but you have the ticket. That's fun. Anyway, they have a little heart-to-heart about that. He's about to take off, and she convinces him to stay and talk about it and all that stuff. Later, we cut to a scene where we're at one of the boys' places, and Christian is there, and he tells the guys basically, yeah, just so you know, I invited Danny to Sweden with us. And they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, no, but she's not coming. Don't worry. But everything she's gone through, I had to throw the invite, essentially. It's like a pity invite that she's not supposed to take for whatever reason. Anyway, lo and behold, Danny comes over and he's like, hey guys, play it cool. And they're like, okay, well, you just threw this at us, but whatever. So she comes in, and right away Josh is like, can I talk to you in the other room? I need you to look over this, paragraph I'm doing for this report or something like that, whatever. Obviously he's gonna go give him shit for whatever reason. Well, for the reason of inviting Danny, but anyway. She sits down and she makes small talk with Pele, who seems genuinely kind, and he says, I've been meaning to say I'm really sorry to hear about what happened to your parents. And it's too fresh. She breaks down and runs off to the bathroom to cry. Good times. Anyway, lo and behold, she does go to Sweden with them. So we see her sitting on the airplane, see her landing, and Josh looking at Swedish women on the street and be like, oh yeah! It's Will Poulter, by the way, so I mean, you can just imagine. And yeah, it's a 3-hour drive from, I'm assuming they landed in Stockholm. I don't actually know, but it's a 4-hour drive from there to this little village that they're gonna go check out. So yeah, like I said, it's Pele's hometown and Josh's thesis subject, sort of. Anyway, they pull up to a little field and he says, okay, this is the first stop, guys. They're like, are we there? No, not yet, but he introduces them to some of his people that are in this area, and they all decide to do mushrooms, so that's fun. Obviously, well, not obviously, but needless to say, Danny's a little hesitant. She's in a bad place right now, and you know how easily being in a bad place can affect your trip, if I may use the term. I'm like dating myself just by saying things the way I am, but whatever. Anyway, she's hesitant. Kristen's like, okay, I'll wait for you. And all the others are like, well, what the hell? We can't do them at different times. We'll have completely different trips. Needless to say, I said that twice now in a very short period of time. Anyway, regardless of her personal feelings and emotional stability, Danny says, you know what? No, let's do it. I'm ready. So they all do mushrooms. And they sit by a tree, and Josh is freaking out about the fact that the midnight sun is a thing. He's like, what time is it? It's like 9 o'clock. Why is the sun out? And he's freaking out. Can everyone lie down, please? Everyone, please lie down. Whatever. It's amazing. Anyway. She starts tripping out and seeing like leaves in her skin or grass or something. And she, I guess, is not digging it because she gets up and takes off and walks past this group of people who start laughing, but they were laughing the whole time. But she assumes they're laughing at her, and Pele's buddy that they just met stops her and is like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And she's like, they were laughing at me. Like, no, they're just laughing. They were laughing before you even got here. Anyway, she ends up waking up later in the middle of a field, and everyone's like, yeah, so it's the next day, by the way. Oh, boy. Anyway. Fuck. Why am I coughing all the time? I'm not even sick anymore. Anyway. So yeah, they head out, essentially. They're ready to roll. They walk, they do a little pilgrimage trail through the woods. And on this path, as they get closer and closer, the path is like made of flowers almost, which is pretty cool. I guess that's how they find their way. They planted them specifically or something. I don't know. Anyway, they come to this village, and the village is really small. There's only like, a handful of buildings, but all these people are dressed in like white and very happy, good, fun times and whatnot. It's not cultish yet, but just wait. Yeah, so they're frolicking around. They're like doing little dancing and chanting things. They have, there's supposed to be like a big feast or something, and all that kind of stuff, and I'm already forgetting what happened. That's pretty brilliant. It's a long movie in my defense, but anyway. There's like a little prayer and song thing, and they gather flowers, and there's like a meal where it's very strange. So they have these two people dressed in blue robes. Everyone else is dressed in white, and these two people in blue robes get up, or they walk to the table after everyone's already there. Everyone remains standing until these two sit, and then everyone sits in silence until these two start eating, and then everyone else starts eating when they do. Okay. So are these like the tribal elders or something? I don't know. We'll find out. We do find out. Turns out, there was a scene earlier I forgot to mention where it's explained, Pele explains that people's ages are determined essentially by the seasons. So, 0 to like, was it 36 or something? You're like a kid still, and then like 36 to whatever it is. I don't remember. Anyway, they're split up evenly, and then the end point is like, and he says, and from whatever till 72, that's winter. And Danny's like, okay, well, what happens when you're 72? And he goes, and she laughs. Whatever, that's funny. Anyway, should she have laughed? So they all eat, and then these two people in the blue robes get on thrones, like little, I don't know what they're called. Those thrones that you sit on, and then people lift them up, and they have sticks, and they carry the sticks on the shoulder, and the thrones go, whatever that is. So they get onto that, and they're taken off somewhere, and everyone else does a little trek to the bottom of a cliff face. And everyone's looking up, and there's another group that was an outsider. So Connie and Simon, they were introduced at like the field area or whatever, but they're outsiders as well, coming to see everything, brought by another member of the village. Anyway, all of them, including our outsiders, are at the bottom of this cliff, and these people get off of their little thrones, and they walk up to the edge of the, well, not to the edge of the cliff, but they walk up close towards the cliff, and someone cuts their hands, and they take their bloody cut hands and put them on this rune stone and smear it with their blood all over it. And then the elderly woman walks to the edge and is like showing her hands to everyone, and everyone's quiet, and the outsiders are kind of confused, like, okay, this is interesting. What is she going to do, like a prayer or something? No, she jumps right off. There's a large rock at the bottom, and she falls onto the rock, and then her face breaks open, and she's dead. Now, Connie and Simon are freaking the hell out, like, what the hell is going on? Oh, they're like, people are trying to calm them down and everything, and our other group of people who we were with at the beginning of the film are just kind of in like stunned silence, like, what the fuck? Anyway, next the elderly man comes to the edge, and Simon and Connie are screaming like, you don't have to jump, don't jump, don't jump. Anyway, he jumps. Instead of going head down first, he goes feet down first, and he misses the big rock, and his leg breaks, and it shows that. And he's lying there gasping, still alive. And everyone starts screaming as if they're in pain. And some other people approach with a large hammer, and there's like 4 or 5 of them. I can't remember the exact number. There's a group of them, a small group, and they take turns smashing in this guy's head to finish him off. The first smash absolutely like collapses his skull, and you see it. And they continue on, passing on the mallet, so he's toast. Everyone's pretty friggin' shook up about that. Connie and Simon decide, okay, we're not doing this anymore. We're leaving. We're taking off. We're not here for this. Danny is a little shaken up, obviously, and she goes and takes a moment to herself. And then later goes to talk to Christian, like, what did we just see and whatnot. And he is kind of not that freaked out about it. He's like, yeah, like that was fucked, but at the same time, I'm trying to, it's part of their culture. I'm trying to keep an open mind. They did it on themselves. It wasn't a murder or anything. He's just not very supportive in general. And he's kind of been this way the whole time too. Like, apparently it was her birthday too. And even Pele, like, gave her a little picture that he drew of her with a flower crown. And he's like, I hope that's not inappropriate. She's like, no, that's actually really sweet. Thank you. Christian didn't even get me anything. And he's like, oh, what? sorry. And she's like, no, it's fine. I didn't even tell him. Anyway, he surprises her with a little piece of birthday cake, and he's like, yeah, sorry, I was thrown off by like the day-night cycle not existing, really. And she's like, that's fine. Anyway. Right. Then there's another scene, too, where there's this one girl, a young girl named Maya, a village local, who's kind of got the hots for Christian. And Mark witnesses her putting something under his bed at night and keeps quiet about it. The next day he asks what it is. And someone says, oh, it's a love spell, love rune or whatever. Basically, you know, if someone's heart belongs to someone, and or, you know, if someone's smitten and they want reciprocation, they put this under the bed or something. And okay, so someone's taken a liking to Christian, obviously. That's fun. And yeah, so Mark is also he's talking to one of the elders or whatever and looking at their texts and whatnot, and they're kind of explaining to him, you know, how it works. So there are a bunch of blank pages at the end because we're constantly updating this. We're writing it as we exist. Right now, there's an individual who's like disabled and kind of, I don't know what the politically correct term is, so I'm just going to say deformed. And I'm sorry if that's offensive. I literally just don't know what it's called politically correctly. So they're a result of inbreeding, essentially, they admit. And they say, yeah, all of their oracles are a result of inbreeding because it keeps their mind clear or something like that. And basically, this one is the one that writes in the book. And so that's interesting. Mark even asks, like, okay, so what happens when they die? Do you just wait for the next, you know? It's like, no. And he asks if he can take some pictures of the text, and the elder just looks at him. He's like, hell no. No, you cannot, god damn it. That is not a thing that you're going to be doing. Anyway, outside we got Connie packing up, and one of the village people runs up to her. Not the village people? Oh my god, yeah. YMCA. No, one of the village residents runs up and says, okay, so just so you know, Simon already left. He went with the cab. And she's like, what? What do you mean he left? It's like, yeah, he took off. We drove him to the town, and they're going to come back, and they're going to take you next. She's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why wouldn't he come talk to me? He's like, I don't know. We only had room in the car for one, and we didn't want to, you know, waste time. It's like, I would have sat on his lap. And you're like, yeah, we suggested that too, but no, he's gone. So she's rightfully irritated. Like, what the hell? So Danny is in the area with her at the time, like saying their goodbyes and whatnot, and she's like, okay, this is fucked. She goes to talk to Christian about it, and Christian's like, oh wow, really? What a dick move. And then turns back to the person he was talking to. Anyway, so blah 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 blah. Like, he just doesn't give a fuck about anything that she's worried about. Real good guy. Anyway, we're kind of gonna see a pattern with Christian this way. So that's he's not an ideal partner. Let's just put it that way. I'm rambling. So anyway, later they find that she is not there anymore either, and they say, okay, well, where's Connie now? And one of the village one of the village residents, I almost said village people again, one of the village residents says, oh yes, I can answer that. She was taken into town, the car came back, and she was driven off. Okay, great, that's perfect. So that's still weird that they went separately, but cool. Anyway, we also have a scene where Josh, he could plead ignorance on this one. He goes to take a pee. I don't know if there's a sign, like actual bathrooms or not, but he goes to an old fallen tree and starts peeing on it. And one of the village residents starts yelling and running towards him, like, put your filthy dick away and all that stuff. Turns out he was urinating on the, it was like the tree that represents their ancestors. So he was basically pissing on their ancestors. That's not good. Everyone's kind of freaked out about that. So, that's fun. Anyway, he's panicking by the time they sit down for lunch. They're going to eat some little meat pies that Danny had been pulled away to help make. And one of them has a hair in it. That's lovely. Anyway, Josh is pulled away by some girl that had been giving him some eyes for the last couple of days and whatnot. So he goes and follows, anticipating, yeah, good times. Following day, he's gone. He hasn't come back, and they're like, is he still with what's her name? And they're like, I guess, probably, I don't know. Anyway, ceremonies must commence and continue, so they continue. Yeah, it's a little bit weird. They're kind of keeping the outsiders docile by the drinks all seem to have something in them that calms nerves and whatnot, and even at one point they're assigned different things to do. So Danny is sent into the kitchen to help make things like food and stuff, and Simon's already gone, so what the hell, Christian, oh my god, Christian is told that he's been wanted in one of these houses by one of the, I don't know if it's an elder or whatnot, but some woman, she wants to talk to him. So she's making all these pies, and he goes into this thing, and she explains to him, have you, how do you feel about Maya? And he's like, what? Like the redhead girl? She's like, yeah. She's taken a liking to you, and it's been approved by, I guess, the tribal council or whatever you want to call it, that, yeah, you guys can bang. She doesn't say it like that, obviously, but he's approved to mate with this girl, and he's kind of like, what? So, I mean, he's not a complete asshole at, he's dating Danny, obviously, so he's not gonna go cheat or whatever. Well, anyway, needless to say, there's a dance competition too, and I guess Danny's been making friends with this one girl who's there, and she's kind of explaining how things are going, and they have some tea that's revealed to be more mushroom tea or whatever, and Danny's like, alright, well, I mean, when in Rome. I guess she's kind of come to terms with the whole people jumping off a cliff thing. But like I said, I assume that all the drinks have had something in it to calm people down, maybe? I don't really know. Anyway, this is like a trip and a half. And she gets into this group with all these local girls, and one woman says, okay, so now basically it's a dance-off. So she tells this mythical story of someone they call the Black One, I guess like the devil or something, who called people away to dance, and they ended up dancing to their death, and yada yada yada. So now every time we have this festival, we dance until we drop as kind of like a fuck you to the Black One, so that's fine. Basically the last person standing is the winner, and they're crowned May Queen, whatever that is. We find out what that is eventually. So they're dancing around, and whatchamacallit, oh my god, Christian comes and sits down beside Pele, who's they're like a group of them that are watching the dance off, I guess. And, Danny notices him, and he seems very disinterested. He's not even looking at them. He's like looking down, like, what? So that's another thing. It's like, okay, you're not even like watching me win this competition, god damn it. Which she does, by the way. She absolutely wins. She's the last one standing. She's crowned the May Queen. There's like a little ceremonial dinner thing where she basically is the one to start everyone eating and all that kind of stuff. And then she's carried away on like a little pedestal and put into a chariot, a carriage on wheels, like a wooden horse and cart, but instead of horses, it's the women of the village. They pull her away, and essentially she is going to bless the crops for the year. So they dig a little hole, put in some seeds, put a big slab of meat, crack an egg over it, and bury it, which, standard farming practice. Anyway, meanwhile, when this is happening, our good friend Christian is pulled into this building where he opens the door and walks in, and he sees, I don't know, like a dozen naked women, and there's Maya lying on the floor also naked, and she and what happens, you can tell where that's going. I guess he's still under the influence of whatever's in the beverages and whatnot, so someone comes and takes his little white robe off, and he goes to her, and yeah, shows Maya a good time, essentially. While this is going on, all of the women are like watching and singing and chanting, essentially, and holding Maya's hand, and when Maya makes like a grunt or a moan, they'll like do the moan too, and so it's like a whole group of people going, It's kind of interesting. And this is when the May Queen comes back. So Danny jumps off and she hears what's going on. She's like, what's going on in there? And her like new friend is like, it's probably best you don't go in there. Of course, you tell someone not to go look at something or not to do something, their instinct is going to be, well, I should probably go do it then, which she does. She goes up and looks through, I guess, the keyhole of the door or the crack of the door or something and sees what's going on, and she immediately stumbles outside and starts throwing up violently. Well, not violently, she like pukes once, sorry, I got a little excited there. And on all of the girls that were carrying her as the May Queen come up and they're like trying to comfort her, and they all go to the little bunkhouse where they're staying. It's a shared like dormitory for everyone under 36 or something like that, by the way. So anyway, they've been staying in that for the whole time. And she's kind of sobbing uncontrollably, and all of these girls start imitating her noises, I guess trying to share her pain and whatnot, which is interesting. There's another scene which I don't remember if it happens after or before this. I think it was before this, where Mark at night sneaks into like the chapel or church or whatever it is and starts taking pictures of that book that he was told not to take pictures of. So that's great. Also, before that happened too, I also forgot to mention, Christian decided, hey, guess what? I'm going to do my thesis here too. And Mark is clearly not thrilled about that either. Like, dude, you knew that this was like my big thing that I was going to be doing. I put like a lot of research time and effort and money into this, and this is supposed to be my thing. And he's like, well, whatever. Doesn't matter for long anyway, because lo and behold, as he's taking pictures of this stuff, someone comes in and he turns and it's Josh. He's like, oh, Josh, dude, like, we're not supposed to be in here. What are you doing? Someone clubs him over the head. Turns out it ain't Josh. It's someone wearing Josh's face. So now things get interesting. I'm pretty sure it was Josh. His face. I might be wrong. Maybe it was someone else's. But anyway. Christian, I guess, meanwhile, finishes and realizes what he did, I guess, and stumbles out naked and runs out into the world. He sees a garden with a foot sticking out of it, which, based on the fact that Mark is the only African American in this entire commune, it's clear that it's probably his foot. So he's freaking out and he runs into like a chicken coop, and he turns and he looks up, and, well, we know what happened to Simon. He's strung up and flayed. His back is broken open, and I think his like lungs were taken out, and he's still breathing. So somehow he's still alive, and that's fucked. That was a trippy scene, I'll admit. Anyway, someone blows some dust into Christian's face, and he's basically unconscious at that point. He wakes up to some girl smiling in a sweet voice telling him, okay, just so you know, you can't talk or move, okay? Just letting you know. And then they back up. And then they're sitting at this big thing, and it's revealed that, we're going to do some sacrifices, everybody. Good times. So we have 4 new bloods, 4 which were already dispatched and taken care of. We had 2 volunteers of our own, because apparently they match the number of new bloods from their own village, which is fair. If you're going to kill people from outside, you may as well kill your own as well, right? I mean, good times. So 4 outsiders, 4 insiders. 2 are already taken care of, and they show them, and it's like their faces with sticks coming out of them, and they're like made into like a little scarecrow, basically. And the 4 outsiders and 2 volunteers, which step up. And then they turn to the crowd and say, Pele, for bringing outsiders, you'll be rewarded, or something like that. And they turn to the other guy and says, you'll be rewarded also. I think it's like his friend or brother or something, I don't remember. Anyway, that's fun. And then they turn and they say, okay, well, now it's tradition for our May Queen to decide who the 9th and final sacrifice will be. Basically, you get to choose between an outsider and an insider. And you have a little, like, bingo ball looking metal thing that, like, push the button and the little ball rolls down. Looks at it and calls out some guy's name, and the guy comes out of the crowd and stands there, and he's ready to go. I mean, you know, no, oh my god, why me? It's not the Hunger Games, right? Everyone is down with whatever the hell happens, and that's just the way it is in this village. And then they have good old paralyzed Christian in a wheelchair, or wheelbarrow, or whatever the hell he's sitting in. Something. He's sitting. He can't move, obviously, so whatever. Anyway. And they say, okay, May Queen, make your decision. And we don't hear the decision, but we cut to a bear that was in a cage earlier, now dead, and essentially on a table being dissected. They're removing all of the organs from the bear, and they're saying, like, careful, don't damage the intestines or anything. I don't know why that matters, but... Then they bring Christian, who's still paralyzed, and put him on the table. And they essentially sew him into the bear. So Danny's made her choice. It's good old Christian. And then they're wheelbarrowing these scarecrow-looking things, and you start to notice, okay, that's Connie's face. Okay, that's Simon's face. That's Mark's face. That's Josh's face. Interesting. And then they bring the two scarecrow, I guess, volunteer sacrifices. And then the not volunteer, the ones that were already taken care of. And then the two volunteers walk in, and they're given, like, I think it's like yarrow root or something, whatever it is, to, like, calm them or make them not feel pain or something along those lines. Because they're going to be burnt alive. Cool. And then they wheel in this big bear, and you see Josh's face in the bear's mouth, and it's all sewed up, and he's in this bear, and he's still paralyzed. And then some people come in with torches, and there's a bunch of hay in there, and they light the hay on fire, and everyone burns, and one of the volunteers starts screaming in pain, and all of the village starts screaming to share his pain or whatever the custom says that they do. And they show the flames slowly engulfing Christian in this bear suit, not able to do anything. And then they zoom out and they show Danny looking like traumatized for a second, and then she like cracks a little smile, and then the credits go. So cool. Now, what did I think? I'm going to try to do this as spoiler less as I can. So it was cool. I have a hard time explaining things without referencing things in the film, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm going to do my best. Anyway, the various cultural things that occurred and like rituals and whatnot in this village were pretty neat. I don't know a lot about like Scandinavian folklore and all that kind of stuff, but it was good. It started off softer and got more intense as the film progressed, and then rapidly so. So the pacing was good. It's a long ass movie. Like, it's 2.5 hours. And when I thought maybe it had been like 20 minutes or so, I looked and it was already like 45 minutes into the film. So I was into it, to say the least. So is it a slow burn? I mean, I don't know. It wasn't for me. I was pretty much absorbed into it the whole time, but I mean, crazy shit doesn't happen right off the bat. So I guess you could describe it as a slow burn, but a very well done slow burn. The characters were pretty good. Like Danny, Florence Pugh was like actually really good in this. Sadly, the only thing I'd seen her in before this was what was it, Black Widow and Thunderbolts. Those were the two movies I've seen her in. So I knew her as what's her character? Yelena, I think her name is. So it was weird hearing her without that like Soviet accent, which is kind of funny because obviously that's not her real accent, I assume. Is she from the UK? I actually don't know, because then her American accent wouldn't be her real accent either. But I don't actually know. Is she American or UK? Oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, she was really good in this. Her moments of sorrow were believable. Her moments of like disgust, fear, all that, pretty genuine. Whoever played Christian, I don't know the guy's name, but he played a dick pretty well when he needed to be a dick, so that was all right. Overall, yeah, that was so. Acting is pretty good. The speed of the story is good. The whole atmosphere, like the cinematography, is really cool too. There's a scene where they're driving towards the village, and like it slowly pans upside down, so the road is like where the sky would be, and the sky is where the road was. That's kind of cool. Little subtle things like that were good, just from like different angles that you wouldn't normally think to do, I guess. I don't know. The bits of violence or gore, I'll just use a loose thing like that so I'm not giving anything away, were very good. Some were more graphic than others, but the graphic ones were really good. Like, they looked legit. Yeah, so that was good. Don't think it's like torture porn or anything. It's just there are scenes where stuff happens. But, you know, without getting into the specifics of it, you should be okay watching it, I think. I mean, it's nothing crazy like Saw or like... There's no people being, like, ripped apart and disemboweled while they're alive or anything crazy like that. So, I mean, it's... Yeah. Anyway, that was really well done. It was interesting seeing a movie like this that takes place like 99.9% in the daylight. Which, I'm weird, but I've always thought that daylight is actually kind of scarier than the dark. For many reasons. A, you're not on guard. You're not expecting anything crazy to happen. And if it does, your reaction time might be slower because you're not anticipating it. When it's dark out, you're kind of, you know, on the lookout, you know. It's just natural. I don't know. There's nocturnal things that hunt you, and I assume it got passed down, like maybe genetically, that it's a click in your brain that, oh, the nighttime, that's something to look, you know, make sure you're looking around when you're walking around at night or something. I don't know. I forget what it's called. The passed down memories or knowledge of something without, like, actually telling something. But anyway, I think it's that. Another thing, in the day, it has nothing to do with film, but in the day, if something's coming to get you, it'll see you, and you'll see it, and that's kind of horrifying to me. So anyway, I really like that they use daytime in this instead of your standard, like, everything's pitch black and jump scares. So there aren't really any jump scares in this either. It's like an overall feeling of dread that is in this movie. I don't know if I'm explaining that properly. Like, there's like a hanging feeling when you're watching this that's just off-putting in general. Even before anything crazy happens, you're kind of like, oh, this is interesting. Again, I'm doing my best to do this without spoilers. So, all in all, let's summarize this quickly. It was done very well. The direction was good. The cinematography was good. The production was good. Acting was good. The music they use is basically just, you know, the music that's being played in the village, from what I can remember, and it fit because it's like traditional instruments and stuff, and this is like a folklore type horror type movie. So that is also good. What am I gonna rate it? Now, I genuinely did like this. It wasn't like a lot of movies I've watched recently, so it was a nice change of pace. Again, seeing Florence in her element here in a non-like action comedy, I'm probably going to look up more of her stuff now because she did very well. Like I said, I got to give her props. She's good. I'm going to have to keep my eye out for her in movies in the future, regardless of the genre. Right, I was talking about rating this, and now I'm going off onto how the acting was, which I already covered. So, I'm going to give it, let's just do off the top of my head, fucking 8.4. Boom. That's it. That's the final verdict. That is Midsommar. Or is it Midsommar? I think it's Midsommar. I'm pretty sure. It's spelled that way, so that's how I'm going to say it. So Midsommar, 8.4. Solid movie. Absolutely check it out. Don't expect jump scares or anything. Just expect a pretty intense movie. That's all I got to say about it. We'll just end it there. And yeah, definitely check it out, though. Highly recommend it. Okay, bye.